Welcome to another episode of Zed Decoded. Today's topic is tasks in Zed. That means we can now run code or execute code in Zed. We can run tasks in Zed. And today with me on my right here, and I guess on your right too, I have Piotr and Kirill who worked on tasks and actually built them. Both have been at Zed for quite a bit, right? I mean, in relative terms of the Zed lifetime, a year at least.
Yeah, a third of that lifetime.
Yeah, all right. So you both have been here quite a while, and you worked on tasks in the last few months, right?
Yeah, it's been right after we finished with a big rewrite onto the GPUI 2 and happened to be one of the first new functionality projects established.
Along with extensions and Linux.
Yeah, cool. And now we're ready to show it to the world, I guess. I mean, it's been, it's been in the stable release since 4 weeks, I guess, right? And you continue, or longer even, and I think you continuously ship more updates and improvements, right?
I think it's actually been out since like March.
Okay. I take everything back. It's been out. But it's still, there's some interesting stuff that I don't think most people know of yet. So let's start with the basics. Tasks, what are they? If I hit Command-Shift-P here, this is a normal, this is Zed nightly, but what I'm going to show you, most of it should be the same on Zed Stable and Preview, at least when this comes out, because there's going to be a release in a couple of hours. But tasks means if you hit Command-Shift-P and type in task, you will see these two options here. And task spawn gives you this other menu here where you can run a task. And this is a Rust project, so you see these all are automatically, we can get to this in a second, these are automatically added here. And if I, for example, choose the cargo run one, it spawns up the terminal and it executes my program here, right? And this is a pretty dumb program. But you can see cargo run executes it. Then here we have like this meta output, right? This is also from tasks to say what exactly executed, like this command.
Yes.
And whether it finished successfully or not. So that's the basic idea. And everybody who's been wanting to execute tests or code in Zed is clapping their hands and saying finally, because now they can do just that. Now my second question is, how do I rerun this thing? Like if I say put a panic here, or if I, change this log output and now I want to rerun it, what do I do?
There's a task rerun action. Yeah.
And that reruns just the last one, right? So if I do task spawn and I do, let's choose a different one. Test, do I have tests in here? I don't have any tests. Yeah, but if I do task rerun, it reruns this.
Because I think that's the biggest...
So how does this work? So, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to show that beyond that models and stuff, there's another biggest UI change that Piotr made. That's adding those green, or not green, but whatever arrows on the left to the gutter. And that's somewhat of a maybe more visible way to show tasks and run them. So we have two tracks. But speaking of the current runs...
All right, yeah.
Okay, I can add a test. Meanwhile, maybe type a small one.
Yes, let's add a test, okay?
Rationalizer, we can do that in a blink of a shortcut. And then we just debug something, I guess. And for that, we are supposed to have this new annotation that shows... Yeah, even better.
But, yeah. I mean, we can't see it, Carol, since we're like in a remote project, but on Thorsten's screen, it is visible in the gutter.
This one here is also new, right? So here, I now have the play button, and I can hit this. Nice. So it auto-detects tests, right? If I do, I don't know. If I remove this, it's gone. If I say test foobar without a test in name, it still works, right? Because I can then click this. Sweet. So so before we go into how this works, which I'm interested in, how if I do task spawn, where does this list of tasks comes from? Like, where does it? These are Rust specific, right? If I don't know. Let's open. Can I open? Let's open another file. Maybe if I say, let's save this as myscript.sh, right? And I say user bin, or where is it? Is it in bin bash? Wait a second. Let me double check this. Which bash do I have installed? There you go. So if I do this, and I say echo, this is bash talking. And let me close all of these. So if I now want to execute this, this is also sweet.
Yeah,
this
is also like
even
a bash. This is like a bash task. As in,
okay.
We happen to also have tasks for bash, but I think you still made your point that you don't get the Rust tasks here anymore, right?
Yeah.
Even better magic.
So there is some. Sorry, let me rerun this. Okay, bash talking 2.3. Cool. So there is some. We do have some logic to detect in which language we are, and then we populate with certain things.
More or less.
For such language, you can define. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to remark that there are actually like 4 to 3 ways, depending on how you want to count them, from in which you can define tasks. Although they still kind of use the same underlying definitions.
Mm-hmm.
But the tasks can come from a file with task definitions. Which is actually how users will interact with tasks. That's how they can create their own tasks. And here you can either have like a global task file, which is like a file which has tasks which are available in all of your projects.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are tasks which are work tree specific, so they're available only in a particular work tree, which can come in handy when you have like workflows which are only relevant to some particular project.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are like language tasks, which we just saw in action. These come from our smarts around the languages. So when we detect that a buffer has a given language associated with it, we actually have like a list of predefined tasks which are available in buffers with that language. And then finally, there are one-shot tasks, which are kind of lightweight tasks, which you can literally type out in the model and spawn on the fly. And their intent is kind of to be this, lightweight task, which is not stored anywhere. It's like a one-off and forget.
Okay, then let's do this backwards. How do I here? Like I want to do say LSL grab Tomo. So now this is what you're saying, right? This is now a one-shot task. What does one-shot mean? It means it's not defined anywhere.
Yes, exactly. So it's not going to be persisted anywhere in the list. So when you restart the editor, it's not going to be around anymore.
Okay, so if I run this, that worked. Interesting that this is a user group. But yeah, so this worked. And now, but if I do task rerun, it can still rerun this, right?
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
So if I go in task spawn, so it's also here, and this means it's a one-shot task, right? This icon here, I guess. Yeah. So then I could delete it. Delete previously scheduled task.
Yes.
Cool.
But there's also a distinction which I think is worth highlighting. This model has 2 kinds of entities, so to speak. You have recently run tasks, and then you have task templates which are at the bottom of this list. And I'm not sure if it's visible in the recording.
But it's that line, right?
In
it's
the
that thin line in the middle.
Yes, there is this thin divider, and also there's an icon to the right of the recent runs, which is also why you can remove them, because they're just history entries.
Yeah.
And for the tasks that you've run, it doesn't really make a difference whether you run the history entry or the template.
Yeah.
But tasks are quite a bit more powerful than what we showcased so far. And down the line, this distinction does make a difference when you throw the task variables into the mix, which is how some of the more sophisticated use cases for this feature. Relying.
Okay.
Sorry.
So let's talk about this then. So the task variables.
You have actually a good example. If you just select those 3 echoes below and spawn the same model, you can see that there's a new task in your list that says, where is that? Yeah, execute selection. Yes, and you can see that.
Do I just click on this?
Yeah, definitely go ahead, or submit it with rerun. And here you can see there's no bash token 0 in your thing, and that magic comes all from the template. So while being still technically the same template for this particular language, it doesn't change between files. It's still a very different task depending on what you do or what the context of the caret you're in right now.
So wait a second. So if I do this and select this and execute selection, does it always just pipe it to my shell, or how does that work?
So far it is, because it's a bash thing, and we just somehow have to park tasks on something that executes them, and we just reuse the terminal that uses the shell after all.
Yeah.
But in the future, maybe.
Actually, I think this didn't reuse it, right? Executes. Task spawn. Executes.
So this I think you need to select the other one down at the bottom, and that's a perfect can you try to running it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Wait a second. This is a Vim mode thing. I think we ran into a bug with Vim mode where it didn't the selection didn't have the whole selection. So okay, so this now executed these 3 lines, and now it keeps in the history the last evaluated version of this task, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So under the hood, we expose we try to make tasks work as closely to your generic shell environment as possible. And so we also, while we spawn the task, we expose a bunch of variables which have this Z prefix to indicate that they come from us, and that's how we expose stuff like the file that you currently have open, or your currently selected text, which is pretty much how the execute selection task is implemented. We pretty much just execute whatever is selected.
Okay, so execute selection pipes it to the shell, right? And I think you can also configure this. We can get to this, but this is my one-shot task. So now my question is, if I have a script, say in Ruby, and I say hello world, and yes, let's also do this live, install the extension for Ruby. Okay, so hello world in Ruby. We don't have any formatting installed, I think, or I installed it the wrong way, so we can ignore this. But how can I now say task spawn and say Ruby and then something like this?
It's gonna be Z_file with as a variable.
Like this?
Yeah, and then if you spawn it as a one-shot, then that should work.
Sweet. Okay, so I can create basically
a lot.
The reason why I want this is if I ever have to do SQL, I'm gonna write a file called .SQL, put the stuff in, and then pipe it to pSQL or something instead of using the REPL. Okay, so now it has evaluated this, right? Okay, cool.
One good part that it's not set in stone. If you ever selected and edit tasks, that's the last feature of this model, I guess, that is displayed. You will get it auto-completed into your input somewhere. Yes, and there it's all expanded. You can make it different. I, for instance, really dislike the Rust backtraces in my tests, so that's how I disable them usually. I just spawn a task, edit it, and go ahead.
Oh, got it. So if you have...
so you run it, for instance, from this arrow. Yeah.
So let's run this, and now it fails, and then...
It's in your history.
Here, run this with Rust backtrace 1. I have this disabled by default. So if I want to do this, I do now... You need to guide me. Task spawn. So this is the thing we just ran. So now...
Then you edit the task.
Edit task, and then I go here
to the beginning. Yep, exactly.
Backtrace equals 1, and then hit option return. There you go.
There you go.
So if I now rerun the last one, Sweet. So that will also do this. So I can modify, and in that last thing, there's always the fully evaluated last task.
And then you go over your code place and fix it. And there's even a simpler way for these runners. If you, for instance, for these arrows would always want to trigger these backtraces, then there are templates that you could use and replace them. But I guess Piotr will cover that a bit later when we get to the actual JSON definitions and stuff.
Yeah, but to perhaps recap briefly, it's pretty important to keep in mind that the tasks are made of these templates and the variables that are kind of provided by Zed for your current location in the editor.
Okay, let's look at this. So you said this was behind the scenes. You said we can define these tasks in a JSON file, right? So, and there's a handy shortcut here that says open tasks or open local tasks, right? What's the difference before I hit return?
There's both. The open ones on the top will open the global settings JSON-like file that will live somewhere in your home directory. And
so I can define my own tasks, and they are not in the repository. Okay. Yes. And this will create this file. Okay, let's look at this. Static task configuration. So I guess it's an array. You can have multiple tasks. Name loop, I guess, right? And then this is just a shell script, right? This is what we just typed in. What if you do this and you type in for I in?
Yeah, that would be the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Done. Does it work? Yes. Shell script loop live. Okay, then args env. So this is the environment variable, right? Like Rust backtrace or something, right? And then okay, what is args? How does that work?
Yeah, there's just another way to pass in the args to the command. So you can either have the command be just the name of the executable, and then you can pass in the args via the array. It's kind of like a legacy thing at this point, I think.
So I could do ls.
Yeah, I would argue that's a legacy thing, because if you just revert that quickly on the previous command form, you can already see that your previous command had to escape all these hello whatever surroundings with something.
Yeah.
And technically, if you do even more nesting, that would be escapes on top of escapes. While here in args, you could just trim off these top level nesting and just literally have them auto-escaped for you.
Yeah,
That's an argument. I mean, not huge, but sometimes helpful with people who are drowning into some real long scripts.
Okay, but so this is passed to Z shell, right? Or my shell as the one that I have configured as a, I guess with -c, right? So if I do, what's a command I could run?
Like a GST? I guess you're after aliases, right? From your environment, or?
Or that, yeah. Or let's try this. Go version, right? This file has changed over, right? Sweet. So if I now, let's do this. Go version. I don't even know if I have Go installed. Let's try it.
You can open a
task
file.
spawn. There it is. So now this icon basically says this comes from the file, right? This comes from the task definitions.
Yeah.
From a local one. Yeah.
Okay. Go version. It worked. Okay, so it concatenates this basically and
that's why we had to use these weird ticks around that concatenation. It's some sort of a fake parameter, so maybe it's a bit confusing, but still.
Okay, so then what else do we have? Current working directory, so you can spawn this anywhere, right?
By default resolved to the same logic as the terminal tabs do.
Use new terminal. So how does that work? Because we had 5 here. Let me try this again. So if I do task spawn and I do Ruby hello world, I get this. If I go in my script and I say spawn and then here I use this one, I get a separate one. If I go back in this and rerun, Oh, that's the last one. Sorry. If I go in here and spawn the Ruby one, it reuses this. So there's a stickiness in that each individual fully validated task uses the same terminal pane.
I mean, that's because by default we assume that we shouldn't be using new terminal. But if you've had like a task which set it to true, then we would open up a new tab for each time you rerun or spawn that task. But by default we just use the existing tab if possible.
Okay.
And
so
the
then
next parameter kind of works in the line of the fact that if that sleepy task, for instance, is run and you rerun the tasks, the next one, disregarding of opening a new terminal node, first waits until that sleepy task is over. But here, especially in conjunction with use new terminal false, you could have had a task that never waits for anything, it just cancels and starts over in the same terminal tab. It's a bit different compared to VS Code. They used more or less some sort of an enum for similar behavior. We decided to go a different way, just actually no good reason, I guess. But so far it works. Maybe we'll restructure it later.
Okay, so if I do this and we have the sleep, right? So it's going to run for 5 seconds. And if I spawn this, my cool loop, and then
spawn another one.
And then I spawn another one, this will cancel it, right? Because here we say allow concurrent runs false. Okay, if I say true, I assume like this is dynamically evaluated, right? This file. So if I do this again and then I do this again, did it cancel the old one?
Oh,
that's weird.
Bug, edge case.
Apparently. So far it's supposed to be at least be that logic working.
Maybe I was too slow. Wait, so this false. Task spawn, my cool loop.
And yeah, maybe the rerun would be faster. Well, now it cancels it, if you can see that.
Yeah. Okay, so it did cancel it, right? And then reused this.
Confusing name that I've just pulled into the trap again. What actually concurrent runs says is more like allow concurrent spawns. Well, design issues, I'd say. We need to rename it. So in these settings, it says, yes, kill it if you encounter something running. But if it's false, both ways, then it wouldn't kill, but rather would wait.
I see. Okay.
So, yeah.
And this is interesting. I was looking for this. Okay, so what variables do I have available here? We had echo this hello. Can I use this Zed file? Does it work like this?
Yeah, it's just set as a variable in your
okay, so then if I run this my cool loop, okay, what else can I put in here?
Well, there's like Z row and Z column.
I think it would be
pretty basic, but like
easy if you could follow me in the Z project. There would be a list of everything that we can define, and this is.
But also, sorry to interrupt, but there's also a full listing on the docs page, which is probably going to be attached to the.
Yes, definitely. Sorry.
Yes, I got it. Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Z column, Z row, Z file, Z symbol. Oh, that's cool. So that is also based on, I guess, wait, let me go here. That's based on the outline, like it's this then?
Yes, pretty much. That's, as a rule of thumb, that's going to be the name of a function or whatever is in the outline.
Oh, that's cool. So if I go in here and say def my test and then say, I forgot all. I did Ruby for 6 years and I forgot everything. This is like my French knowledge. Okay. So then I could basically say, let's do this real quick. If we say task spawn and we say echo, what was it? Z symbol?
Yes.
Okay, so I spawn this and okay, sweet. So it says my test. So that means for all of if you want to run tests and you need to pass in the name of the test, then
that's the way.
You can do this, right? So wait, let's try something. If I do this and say main test dot go, and also let's sorry, where's my terminal here? Code Rust playground go mod init. This is awkward because we're reusing the same thing, but say package main, this is now go, and we say func test, this is my test, testing t val foobar if val equals not bar foo t fatal f, this is wrong. So now in Go, you would run this by say you can run it like this, I think. Undefined testing. Oh yeah. Import testing. So you can run it like this. But if you want to run only a single test, you can say test. This is my test. Nice. So if I would use tasks. I could say go test, right? And then I say run Z symbol, and then I spawn this. Oh, sweet. So and now I can rerun it. Nice, that's cool.
Yeah, so actually, if you want, you can now open a PR to add like basic Go tasks, because that's pretty much like the hardest part of adding the language integration is figuring out how to
invoke them.
Yeah, exactly. How do you like use these variables that you have at your disposal to spawn like a task that yeah. But that's pretty much it. Like the prompt that you wrote would be pretty much what we put in the in the language task.
Oh, and this too, right? This means we could do here, let's try this. Okay. Ruby expression. So we could say task spawn Ruby E. What was it? Z
selected text.
Selected text. Sorry, it needs to be puts, I think, like this. Spawn.
That's exactly how Bash worked. So yeah.
And okay. So here's Z selected text. Sweet. So I can. This is basically Emacs now. I can evaluate anything that I want. So, and in order to so if I now go and spawn, now these are evaluated, right? How do I, basically have a task that says Ruby eval current selection. Is that possible?
So you've been mostly using one-shots up to this point.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to like have something more persistent, you'd ideally you should like define it either in your work tree tasks or your global tasks. So you can like do it here.
Okay, let's do this here.
Yeah, I've already started.
Let's call this Ruby eval selection, or yes. Is it I or E? I think it's this.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea. I just tried to remember what you've typed. So,
yeah. Okay, so this is it, and then we don't need this, I guess.
Yeah, we just can remove everything else, I think.
We don't need this.
It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, let's remove it. Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, you can also use the like the Z variables in your label, and they're gonna show up in the model. As in, instead of saying eval selection, you can say, yeah, exactly. And that's gonna be in your label.
Okay, let's go back and now say, let's select this, spawn, and then, let's remove all of the ones that I ran. Okay, sweet. So this is this one, right? This is no such. Wait, did I do it? Yes. Okay, sorry. So this, and now we go back. Spawn. Ruby eval.
That's because of the label, yeah.
But wait a second. Did I? No such file. What did I do wrong?
I think it's using the old one, but like.
Oh, let's try this. Or let's do Ruby eval this, and now we go back here, select this, spawn,
On the bottom.
and then it's this, right? Oh, this is the old one. Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
this is a history entry.
All right, sweet. 3.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. And then, well, now the question is, if I, puts 99, whatever, and I select both of them, spawn, now it gives me this new one that I can then spawn. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's super cool. So quickly, what else is there? Work tree root. Okay, so this is also handy if you want to run like tests and you need to do it from the root of the project that you have open, right?
And the last variable is something that's actually provided by the plugin. It's Rust specific, as it says in the parentheses, and that's the case. So your plugins could also provide an extra template and things, fill them in, and then you can run them within your tasks.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we actually, in order to get the value for that variable, the Rust plugin has its own piece of logic written in Rust, where we actually use cargo to determine the name of the current crate.
Okay. So this, I think, something like this we would also need for Go. Where in Go you would need if you have a nested directory, you have to run it like go test my nested directory, and then run, because this is just the current package. But cool. So that means we can run tasks, one-shot tasks, by just typing a command in. We can use variables in this. We can define tasks in this. We have tasks defined by Zed itself, by detecting what language it is. We saw this in Bash. We saw this in Rust.
And
what else?
There's one small bit that's worth highlighting as well, although it's a bit obscure. You can rerun the task that you've run last with the rerun command, right?
Yeah.
But there's also an option to spawn something called Ephemeral task, which basically means you can spawn a task without saving it as your last the task that you've run last. And the intent here is, for example, to when you're in this kind of loop where you rerun things over and over again, but you need to do something else. You need to spawn a different task. You can spawn that task without having to, spawn the other one.
Okay.
Through model again. So
if I'm here and I say, okay, this is some complicated piece of code, I want to iterate on this, right? And I'm gonna say, go test, run Zed symbol, and then I spawn this, and now when I rerun, it's gonna spawn this, right? And I can iterate, and I can try, maybe it's this, and then I can rerun it again. But you're now saying ephemeral task. How do I do this?
Well, to spawn an ephemeral task, you use the I think it's command modifier. So when you click it, you have this rerun without history.
Okay.
And you can also just run a template as well. So if, for example, if you spawn this micro loop task, you can spawn it without history.
I see.
So if you do that and then try to rerun something, it should rerun the test.
Okay, so this now runs the loop, but if I say rerun, it runs my old test. Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, but it's, as I said, it's a bit obscure, but in general, this task model has a bunch of cool things which use the modifiers, both option and command. So it's it's worth keeping in mind.
Yeah, and also I don't think it's obscure. We know our users, and we know that everybody has their own way to run certain things and their own preference.
Right.
I think this is pretty sweet. So, okay, last question on the user front before we jump into implementation. I actually have this binding in my key bindings, right? To rerun, sorry, where is it here? Maybe ignore most of my key bindings. There's a lot of weird stuff. But here, I got this. So I got these two bindings here, right? in Vim mode bindings. So comma RL reruns the last task, right? So that's this one, which is pretty handy. And then this is reevaluate context, which would, in this case, I think if I add, like I'm doing this live, but if I add this when I say foobar, this is a new symbol, sorry. And if I now want to run this test, and with rerun, it reruns the one above. But if I use this other binding, it didn't reevaluate. Okay, so I maybe misunderstood how it works.
No, it should actually...
Maybe my binding is wrong?
Hold up a second. I think it might be the binding that's that's wrong. We might be using snake case here, if I recall correctly. Like, it shouldn't be the in camel case.
Oh, let's try this. Yes, that was it. It was my mistake. It's snake case. Okay, so if I do this and then go here and then run this, okay, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so this context reevaluation is basically there to, to let you choose whether you want to rerun the template that you've run last or the specific task that you've run last. And honestly, there is no good answer for, you might want both.
It depends.
Essentially.
Yeah. It depends, right? If I change the file, I want to go to a different file. Otherwise, rerun, Like if I have a task to execute the script that I'm in, like if I always want to say execute this file with Ruby and then I switch to a different file, I might want to evaluate the old one or I might want to evaluate the new one, and then I can choose both.
Selection is a good example.
Okay.
You would barely want to run whatever you selected before. And one last bit on the settings is that you could also add not only some arbitrary task rerun, but you could add a key binding for any tasks to be run with that key binding. So the same spawn task that we have, it's just the same action that could receive an extra parameter, and that would allow us to actually spawn the task under this name if there's anything. And
so here, what is this? If I bind this, if I say I want to run my Go tests in here, what would I put in?
Here, the name of the field will be like task name with, in snake case.
Like this?
Yeah, and the value should be the name of the template, if I recall correctly. So it's going to be like the one that you have in task.json.
We can run the sleepy task or something. That's an easy one.
My cool loop, right? This one here, my cool loop. So if I now go here and hit this key binding, okay, sweet. So it runs this. So I could have a task, like if I have a task called run current test or something like this in my task.json, then I know this key binding will always execute it.
Yeah.
Okay. Did we forget anything? Let's see. What else is there? We walked through these. We talked about one-shot tasks, ephemeral tasks, custom key bindings, this. Tags. Okay, so you can also tag them.
Actually, that's related to the task indicators in indicator.
I see.
Correctly. But I think that might be like the last user-facing bit because it's or one of the last ones.
Okay, so then let's jump over and let's look at how it's implemented. So we're now in Zed. I'll follow you, Piotr. You can show me. Like, can we take a look at how the list of tasks is populated in Rust? Let's start with that. That's a language.
So like the list of the tests, these Rust specific tasks. That's what you mean, right?
Where it says cargo clean, cargo run, cargo test.
So actually, I'm in my.
There is one if you could follow me.
Okay. I'm around. So like.
There's.
But Kirill got it.
Okay, so what am I looking at? Context provider. Okay, Kirill, I'll follow you.
Yeah, so it's as easy as pretty much your JSON just explained in Rust. there's a struct called task template that contains exactly the same fields that we've just discussed before, and all of them are pretty much the same way as the template is defined in Rust. And the only difference, I guess, is this Rust package task variable. That's the thing that we've talked about as something that's been defined by ourselves. There's no explicit definition how you would introduce these tasks. There's just a contract that says, well, this plugin just got few extra variables. They'll be prefixed with Z also for avoiding any collisions, and later just used in these tasks as a provider thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so actually, like the Rust integration here is not doing anything magical, so to speak. Like for the reference of the viewers, Rust integration is not an extension in Z. So, but in general, for extensions such as say PHP or Gleam, if you follow me in Z, they literally provide the same task.json file that you're working with.
I see.
So the reason why it's implemented that way in Rust, where we use the structures instead of the tasks.json, is that like the only difference between what Gleam does and Rust integration does is that Rust already provides the doesn't go through the deserialization step from JSON. That's it. That's the only difference.
Okay.
And the variable
So
determination.
the extensions like sorry.
Oh, and then we define the variable by calling an extra comment, which Gleam doesn't do. But yeah, small detail maybe.
Yeah, but Gleam, I think the extensions can't provide their own variables just yet, but they should be able to in the future, and that's this other bit. But
Okay, so this is what we're looking at here, right? We can say the Rust context provider returns like these task variables, and if we have a file, an absolute path, we take the parent of the absolute path, and then call this function, which, what does it do?
That's actually
runs
this
cargo
system bit. Yeah, it just tries to.
Okay, so this basically calls cargo to find out what the package name is, right? And then it puts this in. Okay, so but in the future we can say that extensions will also be able to do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I mean, we didn't touch on the tags just yet, but you can also provide your own environment variables from the tree-sitter queries as well. But we'll get to that.
Okay,
later
yeah,
on,
let's. Okay, so this seems pretty straightforward in that, okay, everything Rust specific is, what is it, 2 pages on my comically large, with that big font size. But then we can also see the Gleam extension defines tasks. What else do we have? I think you mentioned something else. Elixir here, there you go. They also provide this, how to run tests. There you go, test file, break line.
Yeah.
What is break line? Oh, that's for the debugger, got it. Oh, so they spawn the debugger inside the terminal? That's interesting.
These tasks were actually contributed by Elixir folks. So
Nice.
we kind of just took them in, kind of.
Cool. And then, so we have these default tasks per language. Out of interest, where's the bash one? That's also in
It should be in bash.rs.
bash.rs.
Because that's
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, execute selection and run this. Okay. So this is basically in Rust code, but if you want to do this in your own project without, special variables, you can just define a tasks.json like we did here in the playground, right? And you can drop this in your project. Okay. So then the question is, where do these come from? Like, how does this work, that it magically finds these tests in Rust files?
So let me take you for a ride of like a feature that was mostly conceived by Mikayla, I think.
Okay.
So the runnables detection works in 2 phases. So if you follow me in
I'm
that,
following
right?
you, yeah. Also watching the tests, but yeah, following you.
Yes, so let's take Rust for example, because like that's one of the, I mean, we have Rust and PHP, I think, which do the detection. So we have this tree-sitter query,
Okay.
which is responsible for detecting locations in the file
Yeah.
that have something that you can run. And so here's one of the like our only query at this point, which says, a Rust test is something that has like an attribute item, which it has an identifier here, and this identifier is it literally matches like the test, right?
Yeah.
It can have like some other attributes as well, but we don't care about those. But a test can have something like should panic, for example, and then there is a function where which is the test itself. And one notable thing is that we have this like run capture here, which says at the span of this function item, you should put the like this indicator for running the test.
Yeah.
And we mark this whole thing, this big blob of testing code as a Rust test. That's like the name of this whole span. And then the JSON definition for the test kind of specifies that it's like a handler for that specific tag. So if we go to the Rust file, like recall that we called this capture a Rust test file, right? So now if we look for that, here we go. Like there's a task which kind of registers itself as the handler for that tag. So it says wherever you encounter the the span tagged as a Rust test, you can use me as the handler for that test. So, and the funny bit here is that the user can overwrite this this handler, and we can even do that like ourselves. So if we say we go to editor tests, or maybe we could also use the like your project, like the
playground.
Yeah. So here we have this test. Oh, actually, I'm in a remote project, but it should be fine.
I'll show the viewers something. So in case you don't know, everything in Zed is using tree-sitter, the parsing library, to parse stuff. So you can open the syntax tree view, and then where was it? You called it runnables here, right? So
yes.
What this is first of all, it's scheme, and what this does is it matches a syntax tree where you have an attribute item that's called test, you have another attribute item, and then a function item, and then you capture this and you do this. And this sounds super or looks super abstract, but if you look over here, you can see that here we have a function item, and above it is an attribute and an attribute item. And the thing that we just saw, the runnables.scheme, this basically matches on this, right? And then it, let's take a look again. It captures the name, which is this thing here. And we have attribute item. So this means, what does this mean? Ignore all of these attribute items if there are others, and only focus on the test one, right?
Yeah, so there has to be at least one test attribute followed by arbitrary number of other non-test attributes.
So if I do, how does this work? Do you know the...
Like should panic, right?
Oh, this?
Yeah,
right?
That works as well.
So this would then, where is it? Yep. It's here. This would then be, this one would be ignored because it only cares about this one. And then it takes this, takes the name, and then we end up with this. Okay.
And then there's also that special run capture, which we special case, right? And that says, we've put it on the function item, which means that it's gonna, like, the run icon is gonna be on the same line as the name of the function. That's pretty much what this run capture does.
Okay.
And now, like, if you click on the
this,
like, on the getter, that's gonna spawn the task. But a more interesting case is when, can you like click in at the middle of the foobar identifier? Because I want to like show you something.
Yeah.
So if you have your cursor there, and if you try to click on it, like on the on the getter, you should get like a pop-up, right? And that's because there's also a code action for that for that line. And now the funny bit is that we can, like by default, Rust provides this handler for cargo test, right? But you're free to just, we can go into your task.json file and check this out. We can like write our own task. Like we can just say, hello, tag. Just gonna, basically we're gonna hook into that system.
Okay.
So check this out. You can say hello world. Actually, I missed the. Yeah, and now the funny bit is that we have the tags field, in which we can say, this is my handler for the Rust test spans. So now if you go back to your
main.
Yeah, to your main, and in that same location, if you press, on the getter, you have this other. Yeah, so if you don't like the default integration, you can override it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And can I can't already define my own runnables, right? Like these, like for other languages, that's what the languages will have. The extensions will have to do at some point, right?
I mean, extensions can already do that.
Oh, they can? Okay.
Yes, because that's just a matter of providing the
there you go.
A query.
So somebody added it for Gleam.
Yes.
Functions with names ending in tag. Oh, was this Marshall who added it? Yeah.
Yes.
And then this matches the standalone test. Oh, sweet. So we can add this for
anything.
For anything, yeah. But also for Go, it would be pretty easy, right? Because the name has to start with test like this, and then that would be it. And then we could just, in the Go extension, I guess we would then have a tasks.json that registers a handler for Go test or something, and then
you have to define that parent directory or whatever the thing was, and just
plug it all together. I see. So, and this is, it's kind of different approach to the same Zed symbol thing, right? Where with the Zed symbol, you could get the thing that you're inside, but that doesn't always map to tests, right? Here you can have more elaborate matching and say, not every symbol is a test, only if it, like here, it matches this, where the name matches test or something.
That will be tremendous amount of false positive, like you would have been able to run any function name as a test. So yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's also another problem is that not every testing framework is using the test as in function based approach. There are a couple of JS frameworks, for example, which use kind of expression based tests.
Or where you have it and describe and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly, and that's actually something that one of our contributors is working on right now for PHP Runnables integration. Remco is working on it.
Does he have a PR open yet?
Yes.
Yeah, he does. And we actually modified this tagging system quite a bit to make this use case easier. And now you can even do something like...
where is he? Remco, isn't that?
Remco Smith, or Remco Dev, maybe? I'm not sure. But I am assigned as the reviewer of that PR, so it's at the very bottom. Like the last
this one, add runnable tests. Okay, so here we can see it's still work in progress, but what does he do? Okay, he changes the highlighting, the outline. Here, runnables. Okay. So he basically says, if we have a class declaration that's not abstract, but the name matches test, which is what I, same that we would do in Go. Public method name test, it's called a PHP unit test. Then he has a different one, I guess, for different test frameworks, right?
And he uses the same tag name. Both of these have the same name. Right.
So then he always this is these are the important captures, right? Run, and then this one here, and then class declaration. Oh, what is pest? I guess that's a different framework.
Yeah, that's the it's describe one, I think.
Oh, there you go. So if it's a function call expression where the function name is it, test, or describe, he takes the argument.
Yeah, and that's actually I'm not sure if
Pretty sure that's a typo, right? It should be escaped, right?
Yes.
I hope so. Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah. And then he takes run. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and what he's able to do here is he can take the string value and you put it in the in the task context as well. That's we've worked on that. So it's not in this PR yet, but in theory, if he has this it call, right, with the name of the test, he's able to grab the string within that call and put it in use it as an environmental variable, which he can then use in task.json as a custom
nice
escape hatch.
Nice. This is pretty powerful, and this is already extensions can already do this. They basically only have to drop in a task.json and a runnables.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty sweet.
In theory, they don't even need the runnables.scm, right? Because that's kind of
only if you need it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. We're running out of time, but I wonder, did we miss anything cool? Because there was so much stuff. Ton of different ways to run tasks. You can define them in JSON. You can use variables. You can run one-shot tasks. You can rerun them. You can create key bindings. Language integration, we have some built in, but extensions also have it. And then tree-sitter-based dynamic querying of tasks or creation of tasks, right? Or task tags, right?
Yes. That's the cool thing. The tag detection doesn't know about tasks anyhow. It's not hard-coded or anything, so it's quite cool in that regard.
So basically, it just says these are runnable things.
Yeah, these are the locations, and they have these names, which I'm not sure what they mean.
Yeah.
But they're here. Do with it whatever you want.
So okay, so that means one could also write this for main functions.
Yes.
And then tag them as go main or rust main, and then have different binaries or whatnot.
Yes, and one could also write a test explorer with it, if needed, right?
Nice.
And you could also have a language agnostic test tag, which doesn't indicate the which language it is for, and then you could have your what you kind of wanted for a long time, right? This action which runs a test without specifying what language it is for.
Oh, so then I could go in here and instead of saying task name, I could say task tag or something, and then all right, and that already works. Task tag.
No, not yet. But
okay.
Everything is possible.
All right, then. Thank you so much for your time. If people want to find out more about Task, I think they only have to check out the latest Zed release, right? Hit Command-Shift-P, type in Task, and
the docs.
There's a docs page that contains the variables, how you can use task templates. You can also look at, I think, our GitHub. There's people, trade task definitions, I guess, or have questions because they want to do different things with it. Somebody here is running Emacs in a task to use Magit to do Git stuff, or Magit. I don't know how to pronounce it actually. You contribute here how to run Python stuff. Then somebody else uses LazyGit, so they have a task to spawn LazyGit, which is a terminal UI for Git, also in there.
People already ask for something like run tasks in a chain on a startup, so we are close to something.
Really? Oh, so to boot up, what for? Like to boot up dev servers and whatnot?
Presumably, but just some sort of Turing full tasks to run in the environment.
Okay.
Another minor cool thing is that we can kind of run VS Code tasks as well, or a limited subset of.
Oh, sweet.
Import and run them, yeah.
Yeah, but that that should work out of the box. As in, if you have like VS Code tasks in your work tree, that should just show up in your modal.
Nice. So these are wait, I always get this wrong. Our task definitions are a superset of the VS Code task definitions, or
no? We have like a
side step
converter
set.
between.
Okay. Also, okay. So does that? Okay, it just imports them and then you can run them in Zed.
Yeah.
All right. And here also, this was Fadi on Twitter saying he built these tests for Go. Also other stuff like here. I think here, this is interesting. He uses a task to then talk to Zed again by opening a buffer in the current Zed session, which is also funny. I think at some point we might want to do this in a different way, but this would now, go test, and with the Zed symbol, I guess he could also add a go test function or something, and yeah. All right. With that, thank you so much, and yes, check out tasks. Have fun with it. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good luck. Bye.